Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny. I'm 28 years old, living in Chicago, and I work as a corporate lawyer, specializing in family and estate law. Today, I want to share with you a very personal story from my life, my real life story. It's about pain, perseverance, and the sweetest kind of justice you can imagine. Growing up wasn't easy for me, but it shaped who I am today. If you've ever felt belittled, overlooked, or betrayed by someone who should have protected you, this might hit close to home. Maybe it'll inspire you or just give you that satisfying yes moment we all crave. If you've ever dreamed of turning the tables on someone who wronged you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe for more real-life stories like this, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out. Grab a coffee or tea, get comfortable, because we're diving deep into my journey. Let's begin. You know, looking back on my life, it's hard to believe how far I've come. I was born in a quiet little town in Ohio. The kind of place where the streets are lined with maple trees that turn fiery red in the fall, and everyone waves hello as you pass by. But behind those charming facades, my home was anything but idyllic. My real dad passed away when I was just 5. A tragic car accident on an icy road one winter night. He was a gentle man, a teacher who loved reading bedtime stories and teaching me about the stars. After he was gone, Mom and I struggled. She worked odd jobs, her hands always chapped from scrubbing floors or waiting tables, her eyes carrying the weight of grief. But she tried her best to keep our tiny apartment feeling like a home, with homemade cookies and hugs that smelled like vanilla. Then, when I was 10, Mom met Richard. He swept in like a storm cloud disguised as a savior. Tall and broad-shouldered, with a booming laugh that filled rooms. He worked as a shift manager at the local steel factory. At first, I was hopeful. He brought flowers for Mom, and even took us out for ice cream sundaes at the diner downtown. The ones with extra sprinkles. "I'm here to take care of you both," he'd say, his voice warm like honey. But honey can turn sour, and so did he. It didn't take long for the cracks to show. Richard had 2 kids from his previous marriage, twins, Jake and Jenna, who were 8 at the time. They moved in with us after the wedding, turning our cozy apartment into a cramped house on the edge of town, with peeling white paint and a yard overgrown with weeds. From day one, the favoritism was blatant, like a slap in the face that left a mark you couldn't see, but always felt. Jake and Jenna got the bigger bedrooms, the ones with windows overlooking the backyard, where Richard built them a treehouse. Mine was a converted storage room in the basement, damp and cold, with a single bulb swinging from the ceiling. "It's fine for you," Richard would grunt when I'd complain about the chill seeping through the thin blanket. "You're tough, right?" The humiliations started small, like pebbles in a shoe that eventually blister your feet. I'd come home from school, my backpack heavy with books, excited to show Mom a drawing I'd made in art class. A colorful landscape of our town under a sunset sky. But Richard would intercept it, holding it up with a smirk. "What's this supposed to be?" "Looks like a mess. Jenna's paintings are museum-worthy compared to this." His words stung, sharp as thorns, and I'd feel my throat tighten. fighting back the hot tears that prickled my eyes. Inside, my mind would whirl. Why does he say that? Is my drawing really that bad? Maybe I am just not good enough. As the years ticked by, the favoritism grew into something darker, more deliberate. By 12, I was noticing how Richard poured resources into the twins while denying me the basics. Jake wanted guitar lessons. Done. A shiny new acoustic showed up the next week, along with a private tutor who came twice a week. Jenna dreamed of ballet. Richard signed her up for the best studio in town, buying her pink tutus and satin slippers that cost more than our weekly groceries. Me? I loved reading and math, dreaming of becoming a scientist, or maybe even a lawyer, inspired by those TV shows where justice always prevailed. But when I asked for books from the library or help with homework, Richard would wave me off like I was an annoying fly. "Girls like you don't need fancy education," he'd say, his voice dripping with disdain, as he lounged in his recliner, beer in hand. "Learn to cook or clean, that's useful." His voice had this gravelly edge, especially after a long shift, and it would echo through our living room, bouncing off the faded floral wallpaper that Mom had picked out years ago. I'd stand there, my small frame rigid, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. My fists balled at my sides so tight my nails dug into my palms. The physical sensation was overwhelming, a knot in my stomach twisting like a wrung-out rag, my heart racing as if I'd run a mile. Betrayal gnawed at me. This man was supposed to be family, yet he treated me like an intruder. Mom would glance at me with apologetic eyes, her lips parting as if to speak, but then she'd close them, turning back to the dishes or laundry. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She tried at first, bless her heart. I'd hear them arguing late at night, their voices muffled through the thin walls. "Richard, Emily's smart. She deserves a chance too," Mom would plead, her tone soft but insistent. He'd retort with that cold laugh, the one that sent shivers down my spine, even from my basement room. "Deserves? She's a burden, Sarah, draining us dry. The twins are our future. Blood matters." Blood. That word became a weapon he wielded often, reminding me I wasn't his, that I didn't belong. It fueled a deep-seated powerlessness, like being trapped in a cage with no key, watching the world move on without you. School was my sanctuary, a place where teachers praised my quick mind and encouraged my dreams. In 6th grade, I aced a statewide math competition, bringing home a shiny blue ribbon that I pinned to my backpack with pride. Running home that day, the autumn leaves crunching under my sneakers, I burst through the door. "Look what I won." But Richard was there, feet up on the coffee table, flipping through channels. He glanced at the ribbon, snorted. "Big deal. Jake scored a goal in soccer today. That's real achievement." The twins cheered from the kitchen, munching on fresh-baked cookies Mom had made for them. I stood frozen, the ribbon suddenly feeling heavy, worthless. My chest ached. A dull throb that spread to my fingertips. Why can't he see me? Am I invisible? By 14, the denial of education hit hardest. I'd earned a partial scholarship, to a prestigious high school in the neighboring city, one with advanced STEM programs and college prep courses. It was my ticket out, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. The letter arrived on a rainy Tuesday, the envelope crisp and official. I read it over and over, my fingers tracing the words. "Congratulations, Emily." That evening I presented it at dinner, my voice trembling with excitement. This could change everything. Mom's eyes lit up, but Richard's face darkened like storm clouds gathering. He snatched the letter, scanning it slowly, his jaw clenching. Then, with deliberate cruelty, he tore it in half. "No way. We can't afford the commute. And frankly, it's a waste. Stay local, learn a trade. Know your place, girl." I begged, my voice rising in desperation, tears blurring my vision. "Please, it's mostly free. I can take the bus or walk. I'll figure it out." He loomed over me, his breath hot and sour from the whiskey he sipped after work. End of story. Don't make me repeat myself. The runes spun. I felt dizzy, nauseous, as if the ground had shifted beneath me. That night, in my dim basement room, I huddled under the covers, sobs racking my body, my pillow muffling the sound so no one would hear. The injustice burned like fire in my veins. Why did Jake and Jenna get everything while I got scraps? They had private tutors, sports camps, even family vacations to the lake. I was left behind, scrubbing toilets or weeding the garden, my hands raw and blistered. Friends at school started noticing the changes in me. I'd arrive with shadows under my eyes, my uniform wrinkled from sleeping in it, sometimes to avoid the cold floor. "Emily, you okay?" my best friend Lisa would ask during lunch. Her brow furrowed as she shared her sandwich. I'd force a smile, biting my lip to keep it from trembling. "Yeah, just tired. Family stuff." But inside, the resentment festered, a poison spreading through my thoughts. One day, I'll escape this. One day, he'll pay for making me feel so small. As I turned 16, the cruelty escalated, turning from neglect to outright sabotage. Richard made me handle all the household chores, washing dishes until my fingers pruned, mopping floors on my knees while the twins lounged on the couch, giggling at cartoons. "Earn your keep, Burden," he'd bark, his eyes narrowing as if I were a stray dog he'd reluctantly taken in. Holidays were the worst. Christmas morning, the living room aglow with twinkling lights Mom strung up. The air scented with pine and cinnamon. The twins tore into piles of gifts, new bikes with shiny bells, video games, designer clothes. My pile? A single package. A threadbare sweater from the thrift store, smelling faintly of mothballs, 2 sizes too large. I unwrapped it slowly, my fingers numb, as everyone watched. "Thanks," I whispered, my voice cracking like thin ice. Richard chuckled. "Fits your style. Practical." Later, alone in my room, the dam broke. I slammed my fist into the wall, pain shooting up my arm, knuckles splitting open with tiny beads of blood. How dare he? This isn't fair. The craving for justice grew, a hunger that kept me awake at night, staring at the water-stained ceiling, plotting vague escapes. The final straw snapped when I was 17. I'd been squirreling away money from secret jobs, babysitting after school, delivering newspapers at dawn, my bike tires worn from pedaling miles in the rain. I'd saved nearly $800 in a shoebox hidden under loose floorboards in my room, dreaming of community college tuition. One afternoon, I came home to find the box empty, the floorboard pried up. Panic surged through me, my pulse thundering in my ears. I stormed upstairs, confronting Richard in the kitchen where he was sipping coffee, nonchalant as ever. "Where's my money? I earned that." He didn't even look up from his newspaper. Needed it for Jenna's new dance costumes and recital fees. Family priorities, Emily. You understand. His tone was casual, as if discussing the weather. Rage boiled over. I slammed my hand on the table, the dishes rattling. "That's theft. It's mine." He rose slowly, his chair scraping the linoleum, towering over me with a menacing glare. "Everything under this roof is mine. If you don't like it, there's the door. Ungrateful brat." Mom hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands, her face pale. "Richard, please." But he silenced her with a look. That night, the house felt like a prison, the walls closing in, the air thick with unspoken words. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. The betrayal from Mom hurt almost as much. Her silence was complicity. In the quiet hours before dawn, I made my decision. With shaking hands, I packed a duffel bag. A change of clothes, my few cherished books, a photo of Dad, and the torn scholarship letter as a talisman. I scrawled a note for Mom. "I love you, but I have to go. I'll make something of myself. Promise." Slipping out the back door, the cool night air hit my face, carrying the scent of impending rain. Freedom tasted bittersweet, like tears mixed with resolve. I hitchhiked to Cleveland, where Aunt Linda, Mom's estranged sister, lived in a modest apartment above a bookstore. She'd always disliked Richard, calling him a bully in sheep's clothing during rare family visits. When I showed up on her doorstep at sunrise, soaked and shivering, she pulled me into a warm embrace without a word. "Come in, honey. You're safe now." Her kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls, a stark contrast to the tension I'd left behind. Over breakfast, I poured out my story, tears flowing freely. Aunt Linda listened, her eyes fierce. "That man's a monster, but you're strong, Emily. We'll get you through this." Life with Aunt Linda was a grind, but it was honest. I enrolled in online high school classes, juggling them with 2 jobs, waitressing at a greasy spoon diner during the day where the fluorescent lights buzzed endlessly and tips were meager, and tutoring kids in math at night, my voice hoarse from explaining equations. My body ached constantly, back sore from standing, feet blistered in cheap sneakers, eyes burning from late-night studying under a desk lamp. Doubt crept in during those exhausting moments. What if Richard was right? What if I'm not cut out for more? But I'd push it away, picturing his smug face fueling my determination like gasoline on a fire. At 18, miracles happened. I applied for every scholarship imaginable, my essays raw and honest about overcoming abuse and neglect. One hit, a full ride to community college for pre-law. Law school. It sparked during a civics class, learning about cases where the powerless triumphed over tyrants. I wanted that power, to wield justice like a sword. College was relentless. Lectures in stuffy halls, libraries smelling of old paper where I'd hunch over textbooks until closing time, surviving on instant noodles and black coffee. Social life, non-existent, but grades soared, and by 20 I transferred to Ohio State University on another scholarship, majoring in law with a minor in psychology to understand minds like Richard's. Internships followed, shadowing attorneys in dingy offices, filing motions, researching precedents until my fingers cramped on the keyboard. I specialized in family and estate law, drawn to cases of inheritance fraud and abuse, seeing echoes of my past in every file. By 25, I landed a position at a reputable firm in Chicago. The city skyline a dazzling contrast to my small-town roots. My apartment was tiny, overlooking bustling streets, but it was mine, filled with law books and plants that thrived under my care. Back home, rumors filtered through Aunt Linda's calls. Richard's life was unraveling. Factory layoffs hit hard, but his gambling habit, poker nights at the local bar, drained their savings. Jake flunked out of college after partying too hard, moving back home jobless. Jenna's early pregnancy brought her back too, with a baby in tow. Mom's health suffered, high blood pressure from stress, her once vibrant hair graying prematurely. I sent anonymous checks, my heart aching, but I couldn't face them yet. The scars were too deep. Then, at 27, destiny called. A new case landed on my desk, a contested will in my hometown. An elderly widow, Mrs. Harlan, Richard's aunt, had passed, leaving an estate worth $1.2 million, property, stocks, savings. Richard claimed she'd rewritten her will to favor him, but the original beneficiaries, distant cousins, cried foul, alleging undue influence and forgery. When I saw his name, my coffee cup nearly slipped from my hand. A chill ran down my spine, followed by a surge of adrenaline. This is my chance. I begged my boss for the lead. It's personal. He's my stepfather, but I can be objective. After ethics checks, he agreed. Bring him down, Jenny. Preparation consumed me. Nights blurred into days in my office, surrounded by stacks of documents, the hum of the printer constant. I interviewed witnesses, neighbors who'd seen Richard berate his aunt during visits, pressuring her to sign papers. The nurse testified to overhearing threats. Sign it, or I'll stop helping with your meds. Bank records showed suspicious transfers to Richard's accounts. My internal monologue raced. He's done this before, to Mom, to me. Now he'll face consequences. I practiced arguments in front of a mirror, my reflection hardening with resolve. Fears surfaced. What if he intimidates me? What if I crack? But determination won. The trial dawned crisp and clear. The courthouse, a stately brick building in the town square, flags snapping in the wind. I arrived early, my black suit impeccably pressed, briefcase heavy with evidence. The lobby echoed with footsteps, the air scented with floor polish and old wood. Richard was already there, slouched on a bench, his cheap suit rumpled, whispering to his budget lawyer. a nervous young guy fresh out of law school. When our eyes met, shock rippled across his face, confusion, then dawning horror, then boiling rage. He shot to his feet. "You? What the fuck are you doing here, you ungrateful little—" "Representing the plaintiffs, Mr. Thompson," I replied evenly, my voice steady despite the storm inside. My heart hammered against my ribs, palms slick with sweat, but I held his gaze. "Look at me now, you bully. The burden's about to bury you." The courtroom filled, jurors in stiff collars, the judge and stern woman with wire-rimmed glasses, spectators murmuring. Opening statements set the tone. Richard's lawyer painted him as a devoted nephew. I countered with facts, my words sharp. This is a case of manipulation and greed. Evidence unfolded like a well-rehearsed play. I presented the original will, expert handwriting analysis showing forgeries, timelines of Richard's visits, coinciding with changes. Witnesses took the stand, their voices trembling but firm. "He yelled at her," one neighbor said, "made her cry until she signed." Cross-examination was my masterpiece. When Richard testified, I approached calmly. "Mr. Thompson, describe your relationship with your stepdaughter." His lawyer objected, irrelevant, but the judge allowed it. Richard sputtered, face flushing crimson. "She was a troublemaker, always whining." I pressed. "Like how you denied her education while funding your children's extravagances? Or stole her savings?" The jury shifted, eyes widening. He exploded. "Lies. She's bitter. But documents don't lie." I projected bank statements, emails with veiled threats to his aunt. "Change the will, or I'll tell the family your secrets." His composure cracked. Sweat soaked his collar, hands fidgeting with a pen that snapped under pressure. Closing arguments. I stood tall, voice resonant. Richard Thompson preys on vulnerability, as he did to his family. Justice demands restitution. The jury deliberated 3 agonizing hours. Verdict: will invalid, estate to originals, Richard liable for fees, over $200,000, tipping him into bankruptcy. His assets, house, car, savings, seized. As the gavel fell, he lunged. "You bitch! I'll destroy you!" Bailiffs restrained him, his screams echoing as they dragged him away. I exhaled, legs wobbling, a tidal wave of triumph washing over me. Relief, validation, joy mingling in tears. I blinked back. I won. He was wrong all along. That courtroom victory wasn't just revenge. It was closure, a testament that resilience trumps cruelty. Karma circles back, teaching us that underestimation invites downfall. I reconnected with Mom. She's with Aunt Linda now, healing. Me? I'm empowered, advocating for others. If you've endured injustice, know your strength. Share your stories below. Let's inspire each other. If this story fired you up or gave you those satisfying chills, smash that like button and drop a comment below. What's the most epic revenge you've seen or experienced? Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life tales of triumph and turnaround. Hit that bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay strong and remember, your story matters. See you next time.